Welcome to episode 164 of the Necronama.com. If you're thinking of starting your own podcast, you should check out the show notes from this episode. You can get up to 2 months of free hosting from Libsyn. You'll have access to critical stats, helping you launch your podcast, grow your audience, and bring your podcast to life. Go check out the show notes for the Libsyn promo code and start podcasting today. Now in their 18th year, Fright Rags has been bringing you the best in horror apparel and accessories since 2003, offering a wide range of products for your favorite creature features, slasher flicks, and cult classics. Officially licensed collections include titles like John Carpenter's The Thing, The Evil Dead, Creepshow, Jaws, the Halloween franchise, and so many more. Head on over to fright-rags.com. Make sure to sign up for their SMS and email newsletter to never miss a drop. Listeners get 10% off when they use the code NECRO10, all caps, at checkout. Just a quick note to start the show. I apologize in advance that my recording equipment wasn't up to snuff this week on my end. At least Allison and Ian sound great because they matter more than me.
I am James Sabata, horror author, screenwriter, co-host of the podcast you're listening to right now. And I'm so excited that we finally got to get to Ari Aster's romantic comedy.
I am not Don Guillory. He is not with us tonight because he is not an idiot. He knew that a beautiful black man like himself going to Sweden with a bunch of white people is the last thing he will ever do. So he decided to sit this one out.
Well, Chidi gave it a shot and it didn't work out for him. So I guess you're on to something. So joining us this week, Ian Lovecraft is here along with his lovely wife, Allison. Guys, welcome back once again. It's been like 2 weeks since you were here? It's exciting.
Something like that, right? You just can't get rid of us.
I'm okay with that. I have been promising you this episode literally since we started the show. So I'm glad we finally got it to work out. And why don't you tell our listeners a bit about yourselves if you want to, and then, the obvious question, why'd you pick this? So I'll let you two just go for it.
So we are the Lovecrafts. We are based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. We run Esoteric Order of Geekdom along with the horror version of it, which is the Horror Fiends subset. We typically, when things are not weird, we used to do a lot of horror trivia. We also do book clubs and things like that for everything geeky and or horror in Las Vegas. We are also resident occult would it be connoisseurs?
We are occult philosophers. We philosophize about the occult, so much so that I'm at the beginning stages of a new podcast that will discuss the occult influences and roots in modern day media.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Do you have a name yet?
Cinema Occultus.
That works. I like it. So, what is it about this movie that you guys love so much?
It makes me feel like I'm being held, like I have found the one true place I belong.
I agree with that. Since the first time I saw it, I fell in love with this movie. It had all the things that I knew I was missing from my real life.
I love it.
No joke though. Like, this is one of the only movies that we went to the theater 4 times to see when it was still in its original run. We went and we saw it 3 times, and then when they released the director's cut, like right after it went out of the theater, we literally drove back from San Francisco, got in town about 6-7 o'clock at night, and then went to a 9 o'clock showing because it was the only showing that left because they were only showing it that one weekend here in Las Vegas. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. So how big are the differences with the director's cut? You guys rewatched the director's cut for this, right?
We did.
And I watched whatever's on HBO Max, so I will assume it was the regular version. No, it wasn't HBO Max. It was Canopy, so it's definitely the original version.
Yeah, there's we marked down some of the differences. I think the running time is about half an hour long. there's a few scenes that have extended dialogue and or different dialogue altogether. Like some of them, they rework the dialogue in the scene, and then there's like 2 or 3 scenes that aren't in the movie at all, which would have made sense in certain parts, but nothing earth changing unless you're really into the movie. But I mean, if you like Midsommar, like I would be about watching the director's cut if you can find it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I didn't know if it was like when we covered Aliens too, and it made a huge difference, you know? So, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
I was just gonna say, like, one of the biggest things is as big of a douchebag that Christian is, he's worse in the director's cut. Which, I mean, if you haven't seen the director's cut, it's like, what do you say? How can that be? How can you make this guy worse than he was in the original cut? Well, Ari Aster does it. And then there's a couple other scenes. There's one scene in particular where it takes place at the lake that you never see in the movie at all in the regular cut, and it kind of explains a little bit more of her connection, of Danny's connection with the people there.
Oh.
And when one of the chicks who died, the other chick that's there, Connie, I think her name was, when she dies.
Connie.
That's how she dies, by what they're doing at the lake. But you don't see her die in the regular cut of the movie, but you know that's how she's drowned, because they are having this scene where they're going to drown somebody and Danny stops it. So that it was like, to me, it's like a really important scene, and it's like, it kind of sucks that they cut it out, but I understand people don't like long movies.
That's crazy, because I kind of wondered what the hell happened to her, you know? And
yeah, without that scene, it definitely makes it so you don't know, and you don't get any even clue to what happens to her until they're wheelbarrowing her into the temple at the end, and you just see her and you're like, why does she look like that? And there's no context, unfortunately. But with the director's cut, you get like a huge amount of context as to why she's dressed the way that she is and what then happened to her.
Huh. All right, cool.
One of my favorite things about this movie is the painting that the movie starts with. Like, we've been trying to acquire the painting that happens at the very beginning, and you can find a print of it, but it costs a lot of money, more money than I'm willing to pay. But if you pause it and you look at the painting at the beginning, it literally shows you everything that happens throughout the entire movie. It tells you, it gives you the entire plot, spoilers and all. I have a photograph of it right here. So it starts with wintertime. It's snowing. You see a skull, some black ravens. You see her parents laying there dead, her sister dead. Danny is standing there, and then you see like this skeleton guy. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's the first scene. So that would be like when allegedly her sister commits suicide and murders her parents. Then the next panel shows Danny grieving, when Christian's standing behind her being a douchebag, not really comforting her, just, freaking out like the little bitch he is. But then funny, if you look up in the tree, you see Pele sitting there just, drawing a little picture. And then if you go to the next panel, it shows all of them, going into the little town, coming through the little symbol. You see the bear there, everybody dancing around. And then when you get to the final scene, the final part of the picture, it is the maypole and everybody dancing around the maypole and the feast going on. And also I missed this in the second to last one. You see the 2 people that jump off the cliff and kill themselves. You see them falling from there. So like the painting at the beginning pretty much tells you everything that's going to happen and unfold in this movie, and it's just amazing. And I love the artwork. I wish it didn't cost as much as it did. We tried to acquire a non-legitimate copy of it, but all of them look, the quality's really bad. So we're just holding out.
I was really glad they did the painting. I didn't watch the movie. I just checked out the painting and then I logged out. It was great. So really appreciated it. No, I love that it's there, and I love how important art is throughout the entire film. Like that. I know we're gonna get there, but like where she's just lying there and there's the big picture of the bear directly over her. There's so much of this foreshadowing throughout the entire thing, and just different allusions to different things that are coming, and I loved it so much.
Yep, and we have that painting in our house, the bear painting.
The bear with the little girl, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it still is available, but they have it at IKEA. Allison was watching something on TikTok one day, and somebody walked past it, and she said, "Holy shit!" So we went to IKEA that night and got it.
Oh wow, nice. All right, what's next? I don't know. Where are we going?
Okay. Sorry. End of movie. That's it. We're just talking about the painting.
Okay.
No, but so we talked about something a little bit earlier today, me and you, and so this will be like the beginning stages of that. But when they go into like her parents' bedroom and they're there sleeping, on the brink of death.
Yeah.
Over on the nightstand, there's a picture of Danny, and behind the picture of Danny is a flower crown. So is it, was it there, or was it just foreshadowing? I don't know.
Huh.
But there is I guess we can just get into, so we don't have to dodge around it. There is a conspiracy theory that her sister did not commit suicide and kill her parents, that it was actually Pele. He did it to try to make it so Danny would have to go to Sweden with them, because he had his eyes set on her from the beginning. You can see, like, every time he sees her, how happy he is, how in love with her he is, how he lights up, and he's always like drawing pictures of her and stuff. So go ahead.
On the nightstand, so that it's either a crown or at the very least it's a bouquet of flowers. And if you look at the type of flowers, they're very summery flowers, and this is very much winter. Like that, the flowers are incredibly out of place for the season that it's taking place, because the opening shots in this opening section is all in the winter. It's very drab. The color, that's going back to the art thing, the color tones are just super muted, very, very that just like muted tones, and those flowers stand out because they're bright yellows and oranges, and they look like the same similar flowers that show up later on in the movie once they are in Sweden. So it's very something like, these are flowers that Pele is used to and loves, and that's kind of a nod to maybe it is him, or at least if it's not him directly, at the very least he maybe found a way to instigate it.
That's awesome.
He might have manipulated the sister who was already
on.
Yeah. And
that didn't even occur to me. That's kind of fun. I almost like that better, that he manipulated the sister, because I was watching it and I'm just like, we all know they didn't kill themselves. Why does everyone around me seem to think that they did? And like, I was reading different research and stuff about it, and everybody was like, when the murder-suicide happens, and the whole time I'm like, bullshit. But I like that he could have influenced it. That's fun.
And like, also Pele being friends with Christian and them, like, he knew, because Christian had very obviously, according to Mark, made it very clear that he was done with this relationship. He just didn't know how to get out of it because Danny's so fragile. And so for Pele, by making this happen, her parents and sister are gone. She has no one other than Christian to turn to, even though he's shit. She has no one to turn to. And Christian, even more so, can't just be like, oh, well, I'm breaking up with you, because like her parents and sister just died. He's going to feel obligated to stay with her just long enough for Pele to be like, oh, we're going to Sweden. Do you want to go?
Yeah, and that's pretty great, because that would really ruin his plan if Christian just dumped her.
Yeah.
Also, can I just say how much I love that his name is Christian? Such a nice touch.
No, he's such a douchebag. But you know who's might be worse than him is Mark. Mark is literally the worst. Like, every time he talks, it's just so fucking annoying.
It is. I want to like punch him in his time he opens his mouth.
We have a friend in our group that's a lot like that. I won't say who that is. Yeah.
He'll know when you punch him in the mouth. So.
Right.
Who said it was a him?
Ooh, good point.
No, I'm just joking around. But it's seriously though. Mark is the worst. The only time he's halfway decent is like when he was on mushrooms and he's sitting there and he's freaking out, because I've seen somebody freak out about people like, why are you standing up? You need to sit down. Everybody lay down.
I love that. I have to lay down. Everybody lay down.
Yep.
Yeah, like that. That was the best thing that Mark did in the movie. And then it's just, I also like, I know I'm jumping forward. We're going to jump around. It just makes it easier because I don't want to talk about Mark all night. But when he thinks that chick is hitting on him in the village, which, obviously they had planned for him to possibly impregnate her, one would assume, because why else would she, be batting her eye at some douchebag that goes to Sweden with a fucking vape?
Yeah.
And the whole time he's in the car, he's talking about how, or before the flight and in the car, he's talking about how they're going to be banging all these Swedish chicks. And then he gets there and this chick is like batting his eyes or her eyes at him, and he doesn't know what to do. He's like freaking out. He's like, oh no, she's coming this way. She's coming this way. It's like, how did you think you were going to go to Sweden and have sex with all these women if you literally can't talk to one of them? Like the first one that shows any interest in you, you can't talk to her. How did you think you were going to hook up with all these people in Sweden? Because that's what he was bitching at Christian about. It's like bringing Danny along was going to, fuck up their mojo.
And I love that because that's so real. The guy who's all talk and then can't fucking do anything, That's great.
And that's one of the things I like about this movie is a lot of the characters, like especially like Mark. Like I've known people like Mark, and it's very realistic. But I know when Ari Aster wrote this movie, he was going through a breakup at the time as well. So that explains a lot of things that happens in this movie.
I love the dynamic of the entire group of friends because this movie wouldn't happen if they cared about each other, and they all obviously don't.
Yeah, none of them care about each other whatsoever. They're all in it for themselves, and they're only friends out of happenstance.
Yeah, like if you look at Josh, like Josh is usually out of it. He's reading a book or writing something. He's just there, and then Christian is just he's about himself, but he has no direction at all. He doesn't know what he wants to do with his life.
Yeah, he's floundering.
Yeah, and then you have Mark, who just literally will never shut the fuck up. Like he's just constantly running his mouth like the whole time. Like when they had the car trip at the beginning and he was just like rambling. I'm like, man, I've been on car trips like this before. And I was like, sometimes, because we watched it again last night with some of our friends who hadn't seen it. I was like, I know Mark's being annoying. And it's like, and I worry about this because sometimes when I take an edible, I get like super fucking chatty and I won't shut up. I was like, the last thing I want to do is be like Mark and just rambling about all kinds of shit. Like when we drove back from Darkside and Riverside, our former friend Hunter Womack gave me an edible, and I'm pretty sure I didn't shut up all the way from Riverside to Las Vegas. I'm pretty sure I rambled the whole time.
Yeah, you did. You had a lot of things to say.
Well, I do this great thing where I just take them when I'm alone late at night. So if I do that, like, I guess my Animal Crossing villagers are the only ones who would know.
That's when you break out all the stuffed animals and you guys have a party.
Hell yeah. I have a 7-year-old. There's stuffed animals everywhere in my house. But,
we do not have a 7-year-old, but there are still stuffed animals everywhere.
Well, there you go. No, but I really noticed the second time that I was watching it, because I've just seen it the 2 times, but I really noticed this time how much it mattered that they don't care about each other, and how there's never a reason to save each other. Like, they're literally like, hey, what happened to Josh? Who the fuck cares? And they just move on, like, it's crazy. And I don't know how you, like, if I was Pele, I don't know how you get people to just not care, be so indifferent to it. It's great.
He knows how to pick them.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that Pele like caused them to not care about each other. I think that's just the type of people that they are, and that might have been what attracted him to them. And then of course Danny helped. But it's like you're saying, like when Josh was missing, like they didn't seem, besides Danny, who's like, Josh wouldn't just do this. But like also when Mark was missing, like Danny was the only one that's like, do you think he's still with that girl? And Christian's just like, I don't care, Yeah, sure. It's been like 9 hours. He's still just hanging out with this chick.
They make a reference to it kind of towards the end when everything kind of goes down, when the village is like, oh, they're like thanking Pele for bringing these, people and picking the right ones. And he had the insight to know exactly who to bring and everything like that. Whereas Ingvar brought 2 people who did care about each other, and it almost caused a lot of issues, and it almost messed up all of their plans because Connie was very, very upset that Simon was missing. Whereas when Mark went missing, they're like, "Nah, fuck it." When when Josh went missing, Kristen's like, "He's not with us." Like, dude, like, what the fuck? That's supposed to be your friend.
Case in point, we were camping a couple of weekends ago. We went to this thing in California called the Pagan Community Retreat, and it's just like a group of pagans go camping. It's kind of like MIDSOMMAR, but unfortunately without all the death. But one of the nights,
you can still jump off rocks if you want to. It's okay.
One of the nights, one of the guys that came down with us from Las Vegas, like we were talking to these people, and I thought we were leaving, and then I turned around and he wasn't there, and then it ended up being like 2 hours later, and I'm like, well, is like this guy dead? Like, I really don't want to have to call his roommate and say, hey, not only did I kill your best and only friend, but now you're going to be homeless on top of that because you're living in his house. But luckily he was just having a really good long conversation with some people, so he was all right. But like, we thought about it, and we thought about it more than what Christian and anybody else thought about when Josh and Mark went missing.
It's just so weird to me. Hey, is there anything in the deleted scenes about all these extra people that are clearly not villagers? Like there's this scene where they're all moving towards the announcements, and there's way more people in, I don't know what to call them, so outsider clothing. What?
Yeah, no. Those are villagers. Those are the ones who were sent out, and they're on would it be kind of like the equivalent of a rumspringer? They were out and they were going to college or going to school or whatever outside of the village. This is because Pele says it when he comes back. He's like, he gestures to all the people that are around when they first do the mushrooms. He's like, these are all the same people like me, like the young people who were out and they're returning to the village right now. So that's why you only see them in that one scene, because after that they change back into like their normal villager clothes.
I was totally like, they killed all those people. Where did they go? I wanted a whole sub story about them, but now I know. There you go. Mm-hmm. Well, all right then. I do love just the concept of when she does the shrooms and then she wakes up and they're like, oh, it's been 6 hours, and then they walk over and the ceremony starts, and I'm like, well, thank the fucking Lord she woke up on time, because 5 more minutes she would have missed all of this information. And I thought that was a little weird, but
yeah, and I think it's crazy. Like, she ran off into the woods and they eventually found her and they just left her to sleep, I guess. Like, you're not gonna, I don't know. I feel like when you're doing mushrooms together, you kind of look out for each other, right? Like, that's what you're supposed to do.
Clearly they didn't. Yeah, clearly they didn't feel that way. Like, if somebody ran off, you would at least wake them up enough to make sure they are okay. Like, it seems to me like the only one who cared about anybody when they were on shrooms was Mark, because Mark just wanted everybody to relax and lay down because he was starting to freak out. But speaking of the shrooms, like when we first saw that scene, we're like, somebody did shrooms.
Somebody did shrooms
for this.
100%.
That is 100% like what it's like to do shrooms in nature.
Nice.
Every single visual is 100% correct.
And that's how it should be. Like, I always wonder about that because I've never really done anything. So I never have anything to compare it to. But that's how it should be. If you're going to do these scenes, people who have done it are going to know that you didn't put any effort in. So it's good when they actually get it right. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, that first one when they're sitting by the tree and she looks over at the tree and you can see the bark kind of wavy and moving and kind of like, that is literally what tree bark looks like.
Yeah, usually like when you see a movie and they have any psychedelics in it, they just take it to like 1,000. Like they go way overboard, they over exaggerate it. And it's like, it's still super cool if you just keep it like how it actually is. Like, you don't have to Hollywood everything.
Yeah, I always wonder about that. So yeah, I feel like whenever anybody does any drugs, they could be like, let's smoke a joint. And suddenly it looks like they're in fucking Meow Wolf. And I'm like, that's actually right.
Well, I'm pretty sure that happened in the one Jay and Silent Bob movie, right? Like when they get on, they get in the van with like the fake Scooby people and they smoke a joint. And then like all of a sudden, like they're like all tripping out and stuff. It's just like, okay, I'm pretty sure that's not what that's like, but whatever.
You would think they would know, but
Yeah. You think Kevin Smith, of all people, would know.
maybe that's the joke, though.
It probably is a joke, and I'm just too old to get it, even though he's older than me.
Right?
Oh, I have an award I would like to hand out to Christian for reaching level 1000 of gaslighting, because he does nothing throughout this whole movie and gaslight, and he does it even worse in the director's cut. Like the scene where they're talking after the party, where Danny finds out that he's for sure going to Sweden. Like he gaslight, and I like watching it. I started feeling like really bad because of the just the conversation they were having about how she was like whatever, and then he blows it up, and then he just like fucking somehow flips it, and then she's there feeling like a piece of shit, like she overreacted, and she's apologizing to him and begging his forgiveness and all this shit, and it's just like, oh my god, this dude, you know, if somebody didn't put him in a bear suit and burn him alive, I would do it in a heartbeat. Fuck that guy.
I have a note about that. So the entire scene, because it is an extended scene in the director's cut, which in the regular version, like he does gaslight her and you can tell he's manipulating her, whatever. But in the extended, it's even more so because he does bring up like when they're fighting, it's a lot longer fight where she's like, well, I just, he's like, well, I told you I was going to go. She's like, no, you said you were thinking about going, or you might go. You didn't really say you were going to go. He's like, well, I didn't know. She's like, you have a ticket. Like you purchased a plane ticket. What do you mean you didn't know until today that you were going to go? And so she's very logical, but he very, very easily flips it around on her, and he uses an absence, and he uses taking away his presence and love, because he's like, well, I'm just going to leave then, for her to be like, no, please don't leave me. Like, as a way for her to be like, I'm sorry, it's my fault. And so then she starts going into this spiral of apologies. And he's like, well, whatever. Like it was going to be a surprise. I was going to take you too. Like, you fucking liar. Like, it's just so frustrating. It's
don't look at my computer while I go over here and order a ticket. And
no, he didn't even order her a ticket at that point, because then later on when she goes upstairs, and he's hanging out in his apartment with his buddies or whatever, and he's like, oh, by the way, I invited Danny. She's not going to go. Like, she's not going to go, guys. Don't worry about it. Like, I just invited her for like the gesture. Like, she's not actually going to go.
But did she say she was going to go? Yeah. But she's not going to, believe me. Guys,
but she's not going to. Because he figures at that point he can manipulate her into not going. But Pele manipulates her into going, because in that scene, Pele's the one that looks directly at her when they bring up going, and he's the one that shows her all this cool stuff, and he's like, yeah, so you're going, right? Up. He even says something along the lines of like, I'm really excited when I heard you were going. Like, he's the one that pushes her to go, whereas Christian's the one trying to push her not to go.
Another thing, going back to the artwork in the movie, specifically in like their apartment, is a picture of a painting of the Scarecrow from Wizard of Oz, and I thought it was very funny because Christian is dumb as shit, and he only needs a brain.
That's great.
Yeah, they definitely use a lot of art, and then they use a lot of mirrors there in the beginning, especially. They use them throughout a little bit, but if you notice, a lot of times when Danny and Christian are interacting, it's through reflections, like through mirrors or glass reflections, rather than directly, to just kind of push that like they aren't eye to eye, like they're not cohesive. They are on completely different levels, and it's always and they're backwards, because they're backwards from each other in the reflection.
I love that. No, you guys like literally might be reading my notes. I had that the Christian she apologizes every time Christian ignores her. Mm-hmm. And that's such a huge red flag. And just the way that he manipulates the shit out of that. But then I also wrote, Pele always holds eye contact and wants deep conversation. And those are the things that she's missing from Christian. They're the emotional bonds that she's looking for anywhere. And that's the whole thing with a cult, right? Like you have to hit that loneliness and push that feeling of, oh, things will be better if you're with us, you know? So
another thing that Allison really loves about this movie is when you see the people greet each other, how big and loving their hugs are. Like when Pele first gets there and he hugs his brother, and then he hugs like the the one male elder of the town, like they just wrap their arms around each other and just squeeze really tight.
They hold, yeah. So they each
hold each other.
the back of each other's head, and they pull in close, and then they pull back just enough to have that eye to eye line of sight, and have that intimate moment of discussion and like actually listening and focusing on each other for just that moment to say, I miss, like, genuinely, we missed you, and I'm so happy you're here. And just that's like, that intimacy is just never something that comes up, especially here in America. Like we and especially between guys, for whatever reason, it's always looked down upon, or it's not, it's whatever, it's bullshit. But like, people feel like they can't be, or they can't have that level of intimacy between friends. You don't have to have a romantic partnership to have intimacy between friends. Like, you can have lingering hugs, and you can be in a close presence with people you care about that you're not in a relationship with.
Yeah. I mean, even like, I just went to StokerCon, and just like the way that a lot of us didn't even know each other, it was like Twitter friends or whatever. And everything was instantly, give me a hug, man. Like, are you cool with hugs? And I love that I don't know if it's the norm outside of my world, but it's becoming more normal in the places I go. And I think that's really cool, because that is exactly how it feels. It's that instant, like you're totally focused on each other. And I really like that.
Yeah, I think because of people not being able to get together for the last couple of years because of COVID, it's going to help make it so when things get to the point where we can get around each other again, it is going to be very important. And we are going to maybe we'll be more open about how we've missed, seeing each other and this and that. But I still fear that because of people's being afraid of COVID, that maybe they won't get to the point of where they're like hugging like in this movie. But I know that there's people that I definitely, when I see them, I'm going to give them a big ass hug, just like Curtis.
Just don't lead them down the road to burning alive in a bear suit, all right?
Well, I mean, I guess that depends on who they are.
Oh, it's a fine point you make. I'll allow it. Another thing I really noticed with how Dani is around others is how she always goes to cry alone. And I fully blame that on Christian. I believe that Christian never wants to see her like that, and so that's how she's had to learn to cope with things. What do you guys think of that?
I think that's exactly it. And it starts from the very beginning. The very first scene with Dani, she's upset and crying, and she calls Christian, and you can see her trying to mask that she's crying. She's trying her hardest to not sound like she's like everything's casual. Oh, I'm just worried. But you can tell she's got tears streaming down her face, but she can't let him know that she's that upset, because, as she puts it, she leans too much on him, because that's how he makes her feel. He makes her, and her friend, I love her friend who's on the phone with her, because she's like, that's bullshit. That's what he's there for. That's what relation. And I'm like, you need to listen to your friend. Like, obviously she knows what the fuck's going on. Like, stop letting him treat you like shit. So yeah. And then the only time she really cries is obviously when she finds out her parents and her sister died. And then she's, wailing to him, and he's just sitting there like he don't know what the fuck to do. Like, he's not comforting her. Like, she's laying on him. He's just kind of sitting there like, I don't know what to do with this. And then in the plane, she runs off into the bathroom and starts crying. When she's on the mushroom, she runs off in order to, like, every single time she gets any kind of overwhelming emotion, she feels like she has to hide it and keep it to herself and be by herself to experience it, because she feels like if she does it in front of him, he's going to think she's a whiny little baby, and that she can't handle her shit, and that she's leaning on him too much, and she's too much of a bother.
Yeah, can you imagine, like, before this movie, like, what their relationship was like anytime for her to be like this at this point in the relationship? So how many times has she had a breakdown or got upset, and then he's either just bailed out or just like turned it all around him about how, oh, well, you don't know what he's going through. His life is so much worse. I can't say Christian's a piece of shit more than, it's impossible to get across how much of a piece of shit he is. And that's one thing that Ari Aster and this actor, like, I feel bad for the guy who played him, because, I'm probably going to hate him in anything else he does, just because he played this role of Christian so well.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that a sign of the great effect he had, you know? I would wear that like a trophy. I'd be like, you go ahead and hate me. I've influenced your entire life.
Yeah, and until he can't get work, just like the kid who played Joffrey on Game of Thrones. Yeah, I know he like he's been in stuff, but like nothing that's really my wheelhouse. He's in Strange Angel, which is about Jack Parsons, which I've wanted to see, but we haven't watched that yet. Now I can't watch it because I'll hate Jack Parsons even more. Way to go, Christian. This festival happens every 90 years and it lasts for 9 days, right? How many days take place in this movie, babe?
4 days. It's only 4 days. 4 days of the festival. There's 5 more left.
There's 5 more left. So
I have a theory about that, yeah.
What's your theory?
We'll continue first. Like, do you have more about the 9 days before I ruin it for everybody and make them cry?
You can make me cry. I'm at that point right now. I've already been crying.
So in order to talk about my theory on the 9 days, we got to talk about the very end.
Oh, okay.
And the very end is her smiling and thinking that she's won and that she got revenge and that, you know, all this shit. And I have a lot of friends who seem to think that this is good. And they're like, oh, yeah, she got him. And I'm like, but there's 5 days left. And I don't know if you know this, but she doesn't have anywhere to go. She is reliant on these people. And there's nothing that says they don't kill her. I don't remember last year's queen walking around, you know?
Haley introduces her to his sister. That's who won last year.
Fine, ruin that. But they could still kill her. That's all I'm saying.
They don't. Absolutely not. They put in too much effort and too much time. And I will. So let me bring up all the things of why this village is all about Dany. Okay. They have been waiting for her. Pele has been giving them all the info on all of the people this entire time. They know exactly who's coming. They know exactly what they're in for. They know exactly what they're going to do to these people when they get there. Like, they are 100% ready for them. When they first show up, when they walk through the big sun thing and they go into the village and the older elder male villager comes up to them and he's welcoming them, okay? He says hello and welcome to each person individually until he gets to Dany, where he says, welcome home. She is the only one that he addresses directly as welcome home. Like, he knows they've got her. They're going to get her. She's going to be part of it. She's home now.
Interesting.
And then they groom her the entire time. That's the reason that they have her join into the maid dance. That's the reason they have her go in and help cooking and everything like that. They didn't do that with anybody else. They never had anyone else. Granted, most of them are dead by that point, but they didn't have anybody else join in to the festivities to feel part of this village other than Dany.
Yeah, obviously, I think that they're planning on keeping her around just because, one, they need the new blood there, and because with a guy, you know,
he just needs to deposit a seed and go.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, obviously you don't want somebody like Christian hanging around in your town because, you know, he's a douchebag. And then same thing with Mark. Mark's a piece of shit, you know, but you know what? You could use his seed to, you know, extend the family out a little bit more. But Dany, they seem to give more, like Allison was saying, like more care to her, and you know, everybody seemed excited who met her to meet her.
Yep. She's also the only one that they assigned runes to. If you notice, all of the villagers have their name runes. Like, they have specific runes that are for them and them alone. Dany's the only one that got those because Pele put them on the picture he drew for her. He put her set of runes on that. And then later on in the film, when they have her in the clothing, they put her in the clothing. It already has her name runes on them. It's a backwards Rido and then a sideways Dagas, which I don't know. Obviously, I don't know if their language is like the same as what the normal Elder Futhark runes mean. But when I learned them, that was journey and dawn. Like, she's on a journey and she's dawning a new life here with them.
Oh, I love that. I hope that's exactly what it means.
So yeah,
great.
She's the only one that gets them. So I was like, no, she's in it to win it with them.
Fine. So there's 5 days left, and they celebrate her victory for 5 days, and it's wonderful.
I'm guessing a lot of some of the 5 days is going to be a lot of hedonistic activities going on to make up for the members of their family that
that they lost.
that they're losing.
No, I like that a lot. I like being wrong because then you make me think. So it's great. I didn't notice most of that, and I didn't know the runes, so that's great. I really like that.
I tried to keep track of all of the different runes that were and how they were being used and what they like. Each feast has its own rune associated with how they're sitting. Like the first one is the Rido rune. They're on the ground on those like blankets, and it's in the shape of the Rido that they're all sitting, which is journey. It's the first feast. It's their first journey into the festival, right?
Yep. Or their first journey, or their first feast after their journey.
Right. And then the second feast is where you first meet the two older people who are about to commit the Ashtupa. The second feast is in the shape of the Othala or the Othala rune, and that is heritage and home. So they're going home for their final time. Like that's it. Their journey's over. They're going home to their whatever their afterlife is.
I mean, I think this makes a definite case that the runes mean the right thing with her. So, yeah.
And then the last feast that they show is when she's crowned the May Queen, and it's a straight line, and people just think it's just a straight line of tables. It's not. That's a rune also. It's the Isa rune. That one is either cosmic coherence, which makes a lot of sense to me, or ice, or a wall.
Yeah, I'd go with the first one on that.
Yeah. So I always thought it was super interesting just seeing the runes, because like we took a class on runes like a year and a half ago, and so I've been really interested to see like what they all the different ones they had assigned to people, what they meant and stuff, to see how it tracked.
Man, that's great. I did notice, like I didn't know any of this about the runes, but I did notice that the final table was just straight, and the symmetry was cool, and I was like, man, that must have taken like 6 hours to set up. But outside of that, I didn't think more about it. But I was like, why did they go through all the trouble of forming things with the others? And then this one's just all in a line. I was like, that's lazy, but this is so much better. I love this.
Yeah. And Allison, did you write down anything about like the life cycle, the different cycles of?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. That's something we should go over too, because I know I didn't. I started to make a note. And I would look, and sometimes I'd see Allison making notes. And I was like, well, I'll just let her cover that because she's going to probably have better details than me.
Yeah, I wrote down the different life cycles. So they obviously very easily put their lives into like a 4 seasons type of lifestyle. You have your spring, which is your childlike state, your 0 to 18, which I love. I love that they take everyone that's between 0 to 18. They just let them be kids. They just get to hang out. They run around. They get to be kids. They get to live their life, experiencing things, playing games, learning cool stuff, being a kid. They have no actual work responsibilities. They don't have to do anything that is considered like working, because they're still kids. And then 18 to 36, all of that's where your work crew comes in. That's your summer. That's where that's where everybody goes out. They come back. They now work in the kitchen, cooking the stuff or doing the laundry and stuff like that. Then you have your 36 to 54. That's your older, slightly older, where now they're in charge of like the state of the village, right? And then 54 to 72, that's your retirement, man. Like you don't have anything to do. You're the person that people go to for information, for wisdom. You're respected. And then at 72, you're done. Man, I want to check out at 72. That'd be great. You don't have to get old. You don't have to get decrepit. You don't have to lose your mind. You don't have to die in a bunch of pain and just be done. Done at 72.
You just have to remember to not jump off the mountain and pull a pencil, because that is very painful.
Head first.
Man, those jumps. This goes back to Christian being an asshole too. If you notice, when these two jump off the cliff, everyone else reacts like it is the most sickening thing they've ever seen. They're horrified by it, and Christian literally looks like he's fucking listening to the Star Spangled Banner. He just puts his hand over his chest with like a little, ooh, oh my, you know, like, I'm like, do you have heartburn? What the fuck's happening here, dude?
And he does nothing to comfort Danny, knowing she just went through her parents' and sisters' murder-suicide.
Yep, I was just about to bring that up. Like, he does not comfort her at all, and he's like 6 inches away from her.
Yeah.
He just lets her fucking stand there. And then when the second person goes, when the guy goes, again, like, if that was me, I would be grabbing Allison and pulling her away from the situation so she wouldn't have the chance. I'd be covering her face and covering her ears so she would not have to experience that. But this piece of shit just stands there and probably has a boner or something.
I totally expected him to like get like not a smile, but like have to hide his excitement at seeing it again. Like, he just strikes me as that guy that would be like, oh shit, here we go again. Oh my God, you know?
Well, and then if you see Josh, like Josh, he takes off and he, you know, as soon as he's back in their bunks, he's there like, you know, writing down everything about it because he's, you know, being like the scholar about it. He wants to write down every detail. So he's not as bad as Christian is because he doesn't have his girlfriend there who just went through this stuff, but he's still, you know, not a good person.
He is shitty though, because he knew exactly what it was. Pele told him it was the Ashtupa, and he's like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. And then when Christian's like, what is it? He's like, you'll see. Like, he fucking knew and didn't bother, knowing that, again, Danny just went through all this shit, and he didn't be like, oh, by the way, Danny, maybe you should skip this one.
Yeah, you know, the only way I would do something like that is like if somebody really hurt me really, really bad, that would be the only way I could stand there and let them experience something like that. Even if it's just somebody that I'm just okay with, but I knew they went through an experience where that pretty much destroyed them, that their parents and sister had their murder-suicide, I would have given them the heads up.
Yeah, but no trigger warning or anything, man. Like, give it something. No trigger warning. Hey, how about you might not want to go to this one.
I don't even know that I could do it to somebody I don't like. Like, I would still be like, look, this is what's going to happen. And, you know, up to you, but I'm going to go. You know, unless you're Josh, then, you know, you got to be there to take notes. But, like, I don't know. I don't think I could let anybody do it without knowing what's coming. That's crazy.
And what was Mark's response? Do you remember?
I can't believe you guys didn't wake me up for that.
Exactly.
Why'd you let me miss it?
All right, I love these guys. They're all laying here. That's what I want. Oh, inappropriate. But no, really, I can't believe how shitty Christian's reaction is. But now that you bring up Josh, I'm like, damn, that dude knew and didn't do anything. That's fucked up. This group of friends is terrible.
I felt like, so there's a part in the movie. So they arrive on Danny's birthday. They get there, they do the mushrooms. The next day that they actually go into the village, that's Danny's birthday. That's when Pele gives her the picture, because of course he remembers Danny's birthday. And then he says something, and she mentions along the lines of like, Christian not remembering. And he was like, oh, Christian didn't do anything. And she's like, no, it's my fault. I didn't remind him.
Yeah.
My birthday.
Oh my God.
He had something planned for her, man. She just didn't give him enough time to do it. It's her fault. It's her fault. Don't you know that? You know this. You've been in a relationship like this before, Allison. It's her fault. She does everything wrong. He's perfect.
Danny, I got big plans. I'm putting on a show for you in a couple days. Swing by, check out the keyhole.
And then Pele gives Christian that like little piece of cake, like cupcake or whatever, with the candle in it to give to Danny. And she knows he didn't do it. And then he's standing there, and I think it's so symbolic that he's trying to light this flame between them, and it doesn't fucking light.
Touches like that are why Aster is as good as he is. You know, that's just fucking phenomenal. So.
Oh, after that is the scene of the lake scene that's not in the regular one. So it's an entire director's cut scene that happens where after the Ashtupa, there's another ritual that happens that night. So it's one of the few times that it's actually dark in the movie. Because I think in the regular version, there's like no darkness, right?
Never, yeah.
Yeah. So in the director's cut, there's one scene that happens at night, and it takes place at a lake. So all of the village goes out to the lake, and they throw this earlier in the movie, I don't know if they show it in the regular cut. They show them decorating a tree that's laying down.
I don't remember that, but that doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah.
It's when Christian goes out once he decides and he tells Josh that he's going to do his thesis on the community. He sees I can't remember her name, the redhead chick that's obsessed with him.
Maya.
Yeah. He sees Maya outside. He goes over to talk to her, and she can barely speak English. So another one came out to talk to him, and they're like decorating. Yeah, and they're decorating this. It's like a wintergreen. It's like almost like a Christmas tree that they're putting these decorations on.
Yeah.
But I can't remember if that's in the standard cut or not.
So then they show up at this lake and they have this tree and they have this big part that happens at the lake where they're going to sacrifice to the goddess of the lake. And they throw this tree in. And then one of the villagers goes, "No, wait, didn't you hear that? She's still hungry. She hasn't been satiated yet. Like, we need another sacrifice." And they're like, no, nobody heard that. Maybe it's your own stomach you're hearing. They're like, no, we need another sacrifice. We need another sacrifice. And then this little boy comes out and he's dressed with like these evergreen crisscross pattern of like netting on him and like all the tree decorations. So he's dressed to look like the tree. And they pick him up, they put chains on his ankles, and they put a giant chained rock on his stomach, and they pick him up, and they start swinging him like they're going to toss him in the lake. And they're just swinging him back and forth, and Danny's like freaking out. She's like, why is everybody just standing? Why is everybody just letting this happen? So she like tries to step in, like, no, like you can't do this little boy. Like you can't. So like she tries to stop him, and then everyone in the village is like, no, he's shown his bravery. It's kind of like a rite of passage, I guess, to show that he was brave enough to say, I would sacrifice myself. So it's like a celebration of him, coming into his own or whatever. And so it's really like another thing that Danny's willing to like stick her neck out for, because she doesn't do that most of the film. Like she doesn't stand up for herself, but she'll stand up for this little boy in this village. So that whole scene happens, and then she's still freaked out by everything that happened earlier, everything now that's happened at the lake. She like stomps off and she tells Christian, like, I want to go, like, I'm getting out of here. And he's like, no, you can't go. And at this point, she has this dialogue between her and Christian where she figures everything out. She's like, this is not right. We're not going to leave here. Like she starts freaking out, and he's like, what are you talking about? They invited us here. But she's like, they're doing pagan rituals that depend on no one figuring out what they're doing here. What makes you think they're going to let you write about all this shit? Like she literally figures it all out at this moment, and he gaslights her to say that she's wrong and she's overthinking it and all this other stuff. And like at this point, she also kind of figures out their relationship too. She's like, no, she's like, you're turning this around. Like she figures out that he's gaslighting her, and she grows a little bit of a backbone at this point and like stands up to him. This is the first time, which I think it really sucks that it's only in the director's cut, because this is the first time that Danny's not bulldozed over by Christian.
I wonder if that's the moment where she truly joins them. Like she sees all this and she sees which side she wants to be on.
I don't think she really has that moment until her and Pele have their little talk. I think at this point she's still a little freaked out because she's seen 2 deaths and then now this like almost death in her eyes of this little boy. And she's like, these people are, because Christian side's like, well, it's cultural. You're just not used to it. And she's like, no, this is fucking weird. Like, this is not right. Like she's still in a not right situation. But from this point forward is where the village starts including her now, because she stood up for that little boy, which even pushes further. They're like, yeah, this is the one we want. Like, this is it. We've seen her do these things, her medal. Like, we know this is who we want. So now from that moment forward is where they start having her work in the kitchen with the women, have her wear the clothing, have her participate in the maypole. Like they have her start participating in stuff. And it's after that day, like that night, the next day is when Pele has his talk with her too about like, I understand, like you lost your parents. I lost my parents too. And she starts freaking out and he's like, no, yes, like you need to experience these feelings, because she starts freaking out because she doesn't want to deal with it. And he's like, no, you have to deal with it. Like I also have been through these feelings, but the difference is I had an entire village of family to fall back on, and you have no one because Christian's not there for you ever. And he literally says, like, this is what you need. You need this family. This is who we are. We are this family. And that's when she starts, I think, realizing, like, I can let things go. She just wants people to empathize with her because Christian never did. And the fact that the entire village has this running theme of empathy when the guy commits suicide and jumps off and lands wrong and he's still alive and everyone starts enacting his pain because they have to, like, that's their thing. They have this empathy where if he's in pain, so long as he's in pain, we're in pain. And then same thing when somebody's laughing and if they're happy, we're happy. When she has her breakdown later on where she's crying and all the women are around her and they're crying with her instead of like making her feel bad for having these feelings. That's all the things that start to kind of turn the tides in her wanting to be there.
Yeah, I like that. And they have to go over and kill the man who didn't die from jumping. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was interesting. Obviously, the first shot kills him. But they all keep doing it. That way, he's not the only one who had to make the first shot. And I thought that was very interesting because I don't think it would get better. Like, if I was the second person, I wouldn't be like, oh, it's fine. He's already dead. No, this is still a fucked up thing you have to do, you know? And I thought that was a really strange but very interesting way to show that empathy and community and being together. Like, we'll all swing, maybe not all, but a lot of us will do this thing so that no one person has to live with it.
That's one thing with the village is they all seem to carry each other's burden. So if one of them is happy, they're all happy. If one of them is in pain, they're all in pain because they're like super empaths. And then, like you're saying, like, instead of just having one of them go over there and hit him with the giant hammer, they had like at least 3 of them, I think. Mm-hmm. So it's like it wasn't this one person who had to end this guy's life. They shared it amongst everybody who was selected to do that. I would assume that would be like a position or something that would kind of be like your job or something that you would have in their little society that they have there.
I think it would be interesting to know, like, that was his family or that was, you know, specific people like that were tied to him even, you know?
If you notice too, within the village, like, it's really difficult to keep track of who's actually family because Pele introduces Ingvar as his brother. He introduces that last May Queen as his sister, but he said he was orphaned when his parents died in a fire and the whole village, like, they all raise each other. So they're all brothers and sisters, like, in their mind, like, they're all, you know what I mean? Like, to know, it seems kind of muddled as to who's actually related to who and who actually has ties to who when they're all just consider each other family.
Because they're all family there.
When I remember the first time I watched it, I left and I was kind of annoyed with all the women yelling or screaming or whatever with her because it felt really off to me. Like, it felt, I don't want to just say fake, but it was just like, oh, that's not real emotion. That's them doing this thing. But that, on my second viewing, I was like, that's not the point. It's not about feeling that same pain. It's just making sure you're not alone feeling it. And that transition of how I looked at it really helped me with this because it didn't feel like it was just the villagers, like, you know, pretending. It felt more real, like we're here for you even if we don't fully feel it.
I think that comes back to, like, in our normal everyday society, that would be looked at as maybe them mocking. Like, they're not mocking her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, when a lot of times, like, when growing up, like, if I was crying, my brother, like, man, you're crying, wait, like, mockingly, you know? And that's not what they're doing. They're not doing it to be mocking, to make her feel bad for crying. They're doing it to say, look, we feel this pain that you're feeling. We understand, like we've been through similar situations, or we understand what this feels like. And we want you to get it out. Like we want you to wail, and we will wail with you for as long as you need us to until you feel better.
No, I love that. But I think that that's exactly it. I think my own cultural perceptions immediately went to mocking and fake and that whole thing. So it was a very interesting thing to me to watch it a second time and feel differently that way.
And it even goes into like Ian's favorite part when, you know, they're having sex in that temple and all the women are in there experiencing the feelings of Maya.
I just love the older lady that helps out. I think.
Yeah, she's like, you just need to hurry up, bro. Like, we don't have all day. Let me help you out. Let me just push you
really
out there.
You know?
Yeah, like that scene is fine. I just think it goes on like way too long. And when, like one of the times we saw it in the theater, it was just like super awkward. But watching it last night, like I like when the one lady came up and she like holds Maya's hand, and then she like makes eye contact with Christian to try to settle him down because he's freaking out. And the best part is when the old lady comes up. She's like, "Okay, stud, you need to do your job here. You need to make your deposit so we can get on. We have 5 more days of this. We have other shit to do."
Well, and even the fact that they're all nude, like from a movie perspective, it's creepy, right? Yeah. But if you really look at it as the villagers always being there for each other, it comes this really wonderful like you don't have to be embarrassed. We're all naked. You don't have to feel this way. Like we all feel this, you know?
Especially because this is Maya's. Yeah, this is Maya's first time. Like this is it for her. Mm-hmm. She, of course, is like anyone, like their first experience with sex. Like you're gonna feel awkward. Like, oh, I'm naked now. This is whatever. And so they're all there for her. And I'm sure she had preparation before Christian came in to be like, you know, we're all here. I'm sure she was pampered. Like you're safe. You're loved. This is lovely. This is all for you. Like to feel special for this moment for her, you know?
I think too, something that James just made me think about, he was talking about like the people there being some older people there naked, you know, during the scene. And I wonder if Ari Aster has something about that he likes, because he did the same thing in Hereditary, because I know at the end of Hereditary, in the treehouse, like all the Paymon's cult members were up there, and they were all naked, and a lot of them were up there in age.
I think it's to say like you don't have to have models or conventionally attractive people be the only ones who are ever naked in a movie.
I agree with that too. If you haven't seen X, I know that some people are talking about that in Ty West's new movie X, because they have some old and they're naked in it, and they're like, well, it shouldn't be weird. Like everybody's gonna get old unless you die. Everybody's gonna get old at some point, and you're gonna get naked at some point and want to have sexy time with your lady or man or whoever. So it's like it shouldn't be weird. And Americans in general just have an issue with nudity, and I myself, I do. Like I don't even swim without a shirt on. So, you know, I have that issue myself. So I think them all being there nude with her and it not being an issue, I think that just, again, goes to show like other cultures, you know, like the hangups we have here in America, you know, we should try our best to work through those things.
Well, it is a good way. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. I was just saying there's nothing wrong with being naked.
I agree. I'm naked right now. No. No, I do think it's a great way to also show that this, not to show, but to reiterate that this isn't America. Because if we did this here, we would all find it very strange. And I love how it's just ingrained in their culture, and it's just this beautiful thing of being with one another, and how like the act of sex itself is obviously still between two people, but it affects the whole village. If she gets pregnant, it affects the village, and the village is trying to make this happen. And then the whole being there for each other. I mean, being there for each other is in and of itself very un-American. I love everything about this. I think this is a great scene. But the first time I saw it, I was in a theater, and you said that was very uncomfortable, and I felt the same way. And then when I was watching it at home alone this time, it didn't feel so weird. And I can't help but notice how that's a big part of our culture as well. Like, I can watch porn all day. I don't, but I could. And then if I did it somewhere with other people, I would feel awkward about it. And so I think it's neat how Aster kind of gives us that feeling the whole time as well, because when you're in a theater, that's communal, and that's a community watching this thing happen, but it makes us feel way more awkward than if we're alone. I don't know. Strange.
So this whole thing also brings up the question of, is it rape? Was Christian raped in this?
I mean, yeah, he was drugged, and they took him there. Kinda, yeah.
Because when he goes to visit the woman that runs the town, she explains to him that they've paired them up based on astrological signs. They found that they are compatible, which again tells me that Pele fed all this information to them prior to them getting there, because they already knew all this stuff.
Yeah.
And she says, there's going to be this mating ritual. And he does say at one point, well, can I see it without participating? And she's like, mm-mm. And he chooses at this moment to participate, because he comes out and you can see he is wrestling with it a little bit. You can see it in his face. He's a little about it, but he does choose to participate in order to get his story, right? Like his story is more important to him at this moment than his relationship with Danny and what this might do to her. And then he sits down. You can see he's still kind of mulling it over. He's given the tea. He knows what's in the tea, because he's like, I don't know if I don't want to have a bad trip. And she's like, no, you won't have a bad trip. It'll be fine. He still chooses to drink that tea at that moment. But from that moment on, now it becomes a question of he is inebriated. He is no longer able to consent.
I mean, to me, that's still rape. Like, if I was at a bar and all night this chick was telling me how much she wants me and how she wants to jump in my bed, and then she got so drunk that she passes out and I take her back, that doesn't make it okay. So
even if she doesn't pass out, even if she gets to the gets to the point where she's super drunk, and you can tell she's no longer capable of making informed consenting decisions, it's done. That consent is gone.
Yeah, this is something we were discussing last night with the people that we watched the movie with. We were saying that if it was if the shoe was on the other foot, like you're saying, James, that yeah, everybody would see it. There'd be no question about it that it was rape. But like, because it's a dude, how American society has it. It's like, well, he was hard, so it's like he had to have been into it.
But he was given
drugs
powder for vitality to make him hard.
Well, and even at the dinner with the straight tables, his drink is totally different than everyone else's. So, like, this has been going on. It's not just the one drink that they offer him.
Oh, that's blood, and you don't know what that is?
That's menstrual blood in that drink.
That's not drugs in that drink. That's menstrual blood. That's the spell.
That's why he found the pubic hair in his meat pie, because they have that scene where Connie and Simon are going by, and they asked Pele's brother, what's his name, babe? I can't remember.
Ingvar.
Yeah, Ingvar. They ask him, like, what's this, like some art? And you scroll past it, and it is literally a picture or a painting of how you do a love spell on someone. You feed them your pubic hair, you make them drink your menstrual blood, and then
they fall in love.
Yeah, they fall in love. And so that's literally what they were doing, what Maja did to Christian. So that's why his drink was a little bit pinker than everybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
Don is going to be so pissed that he missed this episode, because he talks about this all the time, and he finally gets a movie where this happens. He chose not to be here tonight, so that's on him.
Well, he might be here at my house in a bear costume, just waiting to go up in flames. You don't know.
I'm just going to go ahead and not respond to that.
You know what? I am going to
where's
say.
Don? Who the fuck cares? Yes.
You can edit this out, but that fucking gold suit he had at StokerCon, that was fucking amazing. When I saw that picture, I was like, holy shit! Like, he's a bad motherfucker, this guy.
I love Don's gold suit. I was the one that pushed for it to be there. I wanted it at our Spirited Giving fundraiser at the Stanley Hotel, and he was like, I'm wearing it to the Stoker Awards. And I was like, oh, fucking never mind. That's the perfect place for it. Great. He wore it for his reading as well, and I thought that was fantastic.
I have a vest that's kind of like that we bought to go to this blue or black and gold ball for New Year's. I'll send you a picture of me in it, and it would go like perfect with that suit. I love it. I keep telling Allison, it's like we need to find something that I can wear this vest to.
Spirited Giving 2023, June 13th in Pittsburgh. I'm trying. Anyway.
Sunday.
Tuesday. But, so where are we now? I got all confused.
So we are past the sex scene, and this is where it all goes downhill. This is where Christian discovers all the shit that he's been missing thus far. Because this is where he runs out, his little wee flopping in the wind, and like he sees Josh's foot sticking out of the dirt. He runs into the chicken coop. He sees Simon blood-eagled up in the chicken coop.
Man, I love that man.
He's freaking out. And that's when he gets hit with the powder to be paralyzed. So he gets paralyzed, and now he gets put into a wheelchair. And now the festivities can begin. Like, now the time has come where they are going to do all of their 9 sacrifices. They've got 4 outsiders that have sacrificed. They've got 4 people from the village that are to be sacrificed. They have their 2, and then their 2 volunteers of Ingvar. And the guy that was super upset about the tree being pissed on by Mark. Fuck that guy. Mark being a piece of shit as he is. So those 2 have volunteered to be sacrificed. So they got that, and they just need their 1 more. And it's Danny's choice. Is it going to be random villager number 1? Or is it going to be Christian?
But before we get to that answer, I want to interrupt and say when he ran out naked, I was literally live texting Ian, and I was like, imagine walking around set with your dick in your hand. Like, that's got to be so weird, you know?
And not only your dick in your hand, but they put a little fake blood on it, too.
Blood on it, yeah.
At least in the, I can't remember if it's in the standard, but in the director's cut, one of the times when you see it around, you can see that there's blood on it to show that, you know, that you know, that she was a virgin beforehand. Also before this, like before he starts freaking out, I like when he's at the table and he's starting to have a bad trip, and he like looked at the guy beside him and he asked what's going on, and the guy goes, claps, and you just see the sound wave. I was like, man, like I could imagine being fucked up and somebody clapping in your face like that. And I would have the same response. He was like, why would you do that? Because you're a douchebag, Christian. Go fuck yourself. That's why.
Oh, wonderful.
Before we get to the end of the movie, I'm going to talk about the one thing that I don't like about the movie.
Ooh.
And that would be Reuben, the Oracle. They don't do really anything with him. They mention him a couple times, and he's in the background a couple times. And I understand, I don't like, even in the director's cut, he might have been in like one more scene. I felt that they could have just taken that character out himself and just have somebody else be the people who write their prophecy books, instead of somebody that's inbred and is there for really no reason, just to look weird. When I saw the trailers, I originally thought it was somebody who had like an allergic reaction to something and it is all swollen up. But yeah, I really don't. I could like Reuben if I had more about him, and maybe that would unfold in the next 5 days. Maybe he'd prophesize for him or something, but I highly doubt it. I didn't see it, so that's the one.
He's dropping his hot new rap album on day 7. So
yep, day 7. No,
Yeah.
it has to be day 6 because on day 7 they're going to rest because of his mad beats he dropped on day 6.
No, I agree, and Ian, I felt like I wasn't paying enough attention because I'm like, what the fuck's going on with this person? Why? What is this? And you were like, no, you didn't miss anything. I really felt like I spaced out for a minute and missed something important earlier. But
no, like I know, like when Josh is in room with all the books, he asks the elder about it, and he explains it a little bit, but that's pretty much all you really get. Like I think in the director's cut, like I just assumed going in that we would get more about Reuben, but you really don't. Like there might be another scene or two where he's just sitting around painting or something, but that you get no more explanation about him or anything else really important about him.
It's really strange.
Another thing that I want to talk about this movie before we get over with is how much I love Florence Pugh. And she has like the cutest face in the world because her nose is just like Allison's nose. And I think that's why I love her so much, is because she has a cute little nose and her nose is like almost the same as Allison's. And it was just like, man, I was noticing it so much when we saw the movie last night because we hadn't seen this one. And I don't think we've watched it this year yet, but we've probably seen it about 9 times. Not as much as Psycho Gorman. Almost as we've almost seen Fresh as much as this, because Fresh, I told Allison the other day I'm ready to watch Fresh again if we can find somebody that hasn't seen it yet.
Man, I love that. So good.
Okay, babe.
I will say that's the most romantic thing anybody's said on our show ever, Ian. So good job pointing out that the main actress is hot because she looks like your wife. I mean,
I know, right? Yeah, she's
Don tries to say romantic things to me, but he always fails. See, I can get these shots in while he's not here. It's great.
That's because he's being prepared for the bear right now.
Yep.
Right.
Don is the bear of the show. You can tell him I said that.
Oh my! I'm not responding to that. So we get to the big decision, and I could argue that many movies might have made this decision harder for her. Like, she could have been so gaslit that she could still justify maybe saving him solely because he's going to die, right? Like, if it was just he's going to get in trouble, I think some movies could have given her more of a decision. What I think is interesting here is that she takes so long to make her choice, even though she's clearly made her. It wasn't tension for me. It was just too drawn out. I don't know.
Sometimes, a piece of shit makes your decision very easy.
Yeah.
And Christian sure as fuck did that in this movie.
I will say it would have been a little awkward if she just like cut them off mid-choice and was like, kill him, So
I think that it's more drawn out because I feel like she's just trying, like, she's looking at him the entire time. She's like, yeah, motherfucker, like, your fate's in my hands now. And she's wanting him to replay all the times in his head that he's fucked her over or he's been shitty to her. And that she wants him to be like, oh, definitely she's going to save me, right? Like, it's in the bag. Like, obviously she's going to save me. And then for her to finally be like, no.
Worst bingo game ever. That's what I'll say when they played Rune Bingo and they pulled that one guy's name. But I guess luckily for him, we had Christian there to make sure he didn't have to take the hit.
I thought that was so weird. Like, there's got to be an easier way to do that.
Well, it's kind of like the lottery, right? The story, the lottery. Like, how else would you pick? Like, you already have 2 people who volunteered. That'd be kind of whatever to have 3 people volunteer. So it's just more fair if you just do it via lottery.
Well, it was the mechanics of the Powerball lottery ball puller for me. I was like, who left this village and saw a Powerball pick and went, you know what? I'll go ahead and take that back to the village, and that's going to become important later. I don't know. It was interesting. They could have just pulled names out of a hat.
So then we have Christian prepped and put into the bear.
Poor bear.
Poor bear. Yeah, right.
I still like the scene when Simon asks, "Are we gonna say anything about the bear?" And then dude's just like, "Well, it's a fucking
The
bear."
bear. Yeah.
I like that. Also, A24 was so smart back in the day when the movie released. They actually made a toy of the bear in a cage, and it sold out like super quick. And I didn't get one, so I'm very disappointed in that. I want a bear in a cage. It's not Don. Sorry, Don. You're not here. I get to take shots.
I had no idea that was the thing. That's pretty great.
Yeah, they did one for the witch as well, where it looks like, you know, like the Little People's, kind of like the Little People toys that they used to have back in the day, where they're just like a little body and a little round head. But they had one for a Black Phillip and the two little kids and probably Thomason.
That's pretty great. I'll have to get those for my daughter. No. Like I had the $1,000 they probably sell for now.
Oh, yeah.
Why did they kill this poor bear? He did nothing wrong.
I would hope that, because they're very nature-based, so I'm guessing that, you know, there's the part where they're burying, when Danny's going around and she's pretty much kind of like blessing all their crops and all their animals and stuff. Like one of the times when they're putting some seeds in the ground, they put in a chunk of meat or like maybe a liver or a lung or something. And I'm hoping that that's possibly part of the bear. I would assume that with how this village is, they probably ate the bear. They probably, maybe not that day, maybe they do it one of the following days, you know, in like a big feast or something, because it's, you know, you don't really hear about people eating bear or whatever. So maybe they make a big deal out of it. So I would, you know, I would hope that these people wouldn't wouldn't kill a bear to put an asshole inside of it.
No, I definitely agree with that. They don't seem like they would waste it at all. So that would be kind of a great ending too, to see instead of just the smiles, they were all at dinner again and having the big celebratory dinner. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I know. Sarah from Geeks Who Eat, her and her husband dressed up as the May Queen and the bear one year, and I think her husband Matt just had on like a little bear onesie, and you know, where your head's popping out, like where his mouth would be or whatever. And I've always told Allison that I want to do that sometime. But then thinking about it, it's like, do I want to?
You don't want to be the bear.
Yeah. So what I want to do is what my current Facebook profile picture is. It's of Danny and then the main guy from Hereditary as Paimon, where he's wearing like the little paper crown and stuff. I forget what the main character in that is called. I think we should do that this year for Halloween, babe. Write it down. It's done.
I'm down. I'm down for it.
Nice. And then we burn them alive. All these people in the little triangle building go up in flames. Yes, I know it's not a triangle building. I just couldn't resist. But I really, really like that, you know, it's not just a paralyzed guy in there. Like, if he was alone, I don't think that you'd get the same feeling from it, because he can't react. He can't do anything. He can't move. And so adding the others and then having the villagers scream as well, like, I don't know. This is a great ending to me.
Yeah, again, it goes back to them all being empaths, and they're all, you know, burning up and feeling the pain of their two brothers that chose to sacrifice themselves for the village. I
can't help but wonder about the, what is it, a yew tree? Is that when they say you won't feel any pain, they clearly felt some pain. And I was like, were you lying? Did you not know? Is it just less pain? Like, what was happening here? I need to know. You know?
I feel like it's more of this is to lessen the pain more so than like it's going to completely, because if they wanted to completely take away their pain, they would have given them the same paralytic that they gave Christian, because he wasn't screaming. He didn't feel anything because he was paralyzed. Right.
He might have felt it, but at least he couldn't.
He wasn't. Yeah. So at the very least, they could have done the same thing for them if it was meant to be. You don't like part of their sacrifices. They know they're choosing this. Mm-hmm. The sap from the yew tree is a numbing agent just to help out at least a little bit. It's not going to take away all your pain. You still have to experience this thing that you've chosen to experience. But we want to make it as pleasant as we possibly can, with just this little bit of yew tree.
Well, and that was the thing. I was like, you have to know that you're going to be in pain. Like,
but they might not, because this burning part of the festival only happens every 90 years. And if they all only live to be 72, who was alive the last time it happened? They only have the writings to tell them what to do at this point.
Yeah. So, I mean, they could have legitimately thought they wouldn't feel it, I guess. Or they could have just been trying to help or whatever. Like, I don't know.
So in the writings, it may have said, give them you for pain. And maybe they thought, oh, that meant no pain. No, it just means less pain.
I mean, at that point, it's too late. So
yeah.
All right. So final image. What are your thoughts, Allison?
I love the closing of just Dani standing there with her maniacal little smile, knowing exactly what she's done and knowing this life that she's now chosen.
I like it more than when we started. I was very much in the camp of where the fuck's she gonna go? She's stuck with them, but you guys have changed my mind, and I love that. And I feel way better about it now. I still don't know that it's exactly a happy ending so much as I think it's a happy beginning.
No.
I can roll with a happy beginning for sure.
Plus, I mean, that douchebag's gone, so that's good.
Yeah, all the douchebags are dead.
Yeah.
Women listening to this, if your boyfriend's a douchebag, set him on fire. That's what we're saying here today. Also, let me know so I have an alibi. But, no. What other thoughts do you guys have? Did we miss anything in your notes?
The only thing I can really think of is Mark. When he died, he was the fool, and they said at the beginning, like, the kids were running around kicking each other, and they're like, "What game are they playing?" And they're like, "Oh, they're playing Kick the Fool," and he literally
Skin the Fool.
Or Skin the Fool. Sorry, Skin the Fool. And so, he is the fool
that gets skinned.
And well, he's so stupid that when the chick who kills him comes up, she says, "I'm going to show you," and he gets up and he says to his friends, "She's going to show me." Show me what? He don't know because he's a fucking idiot, but he goes anyway. And then I don't know if it's in the normal cuts or if it's just in the director's cut, but when you see her later on, her face has some wounds on it, like he tried to fight back. So I'm assuming she either, obviously she helped kill him and he tried to fight back, but perhaps they tried to have him impregnate her at first so they could have that. But if they were smart, they would have just said, "No, this dude, we don't need his DNA in our system. He pissed on the ancestral tree. We'll never be able to forgive him for that."
That's right.
His kids would still be getting shit about it.
I think that him impregnating her was in the original plans. That's why she picked him to whatever. And because at the end, when they show her in her faces and she's by the pyramid building, she looks upset and she's being comforted by one of the people in the village because she was supposed to have that. This was supposed to be her guy that she picked. She was going to get pregnant by him so she could have a baby. And that was the original plan until he pissed on the ancestral tree. And then they're like, we can't have this dude. Nope. And I think that's when it became decided that when she let him off, that he got jumped and skinned prior to him being able to impregnate her.
That's beautiful. I like that. And damn, it's just so Mark. Yeah, and then I was texting Ian during it, and what did you say, Ian? It was like, who the fuck pisses in the middle of the day? Or
no, it's just like he doesn't go into the woods. They're surrounded by woods. Obviously, there's buildings there. There's bathrooms there, but no, he goes kind of out into the middle of their thing where their tree is, and he just pisses on it. Like, I understand you're going to piss on a tree, even a fallen tree, but I would go into the woods so I'm just not standing around pissing in front of people. But that's just me. I get pee shy regardless. So
Mark has no shame.
Yeah, Mark doesn't. That's why he's vaping over there. Somebody should have slapped that shit out of his hand. Oh, another thing. It doesn't, I mean, you can cut it out, but another thing I really liked is when they were giving Mark a lot of shit when he was asking about ticks. When they're hiking to the village, and he's like, "Is there ticks here?" And then he's going on about how one of his cousins had Lyme disease, and it's no joke. He lost a leg, and Pele's, he's all like, oh yeah, somebody got bit by a tick here last year or something like that. They're just fucking with him, and he's just like freaking the fuck out because he's so afraid of ticks.
Fucking with him. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it goes back to the fact of like what we were saying, like how well some of these characters are written, and some of the moments like with their interactions, like in the car with him just running his mouth, just talking literally about nothing, how realistic that is. It's just like you're hiking through the woods and somebody asks about some kind of bugs. Of course, I would be the asshole that'd be like, oh, you mean like that one right over there that I just saw? I would be the guy that would be fucking with somebody about stuff like that just to give them a hard time.
You mean like the one on your neck right now?
Yeah. You just walk up and slap the shit out of them. Be like, oh, you better thank me, man. I just saved you. You would have got Lyme disease.
There are a lot of conversations between characters that seem unimportant, or they seem kind of to the side, but they very much character build. Like you get a huge sense of who each person is and what they're all about just from these bits of conversation between them. Like the conversation between Christian and Josh, when Christian tells Josh, oh, I'm going to do my thesis here. And Josh is like, what the fuck, bro? Like you get the sense like Christian has ridden Josh's coattails throughout their entire graduate education, because Josh says something along the lines of like, you've never taken this seriously. You're just whatever. He's like, this is what I'm all about. I've carried this the whole time. Like he's essentially carried him. I feel like it gives the sense that like Christian copied Josh's papers and stuff like that. Like, oh, bro, just help me out. I'll just do it. I'll just change some stuff, to get by, because Christian has no fucking direction in life. And so for him to be like, well, we could just collaborate. Like how much of a slap in the face is that for Josh to be like, dude, I've worked on this entire time, and you're just going to jump in here because you just happened to be here. You were also invited. And now you're just going to use this because it's easy because you're here.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah. That's so on point with the character. Great.
Christian is definitely a Chad. We were talking about Chads and Kyles.
Fresh? Yeah.
Chads and Kyles, about how the dude at the date at the beginning of Fresh was actually a Kyle and not a Chad, because he's not whatever enough. But Christian is definitely a Chad to the 1000th degree.
Definitely.
I love it. On a Lovecraft scale, you are a Kyle. Yeah, I like that. The only thing that I still have in my notes, you guys kind of hit, because you said in the director's cut there's the one dark scene. But I love that, at least in the original, everything except the beginning is daylight, bright. Everything is white. None of the villagers are imposing. Like there's no head guy. Like there's usually that one guy that clearly is running all of this, and he's clearly, and there's the character that's in charge, but they're not imposing, and there's not that same feeling that that's the bad guy we have to defeat,
And you want to know why there's not one bad guy in this movie? Because it takes a whole village.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's great. I was done. It was just amazing to me how this flies in the face of everything we think with horror. We think cold. We think dark. We think the big bad, and this does the direct opposite and still hits everything that horror should hit.
Yeah, I know one thing we didn't touch on at all, but everybody touches on it in every podcast or when they're breaking down this movie.
We would have gotten kicked out if we didn't.
And you know why? That's why we didn't spend 2 hours talking about how, you can see this face in the tree right here, or you can see in this one scene Danny's mom walking through, because it's obvious and everybody's talked about that. We're here on this podcast to talk about what really matters, and that is the social commentary in this movie. And that is, don't be like Christian or Mark.
Don't pee on trees.
Don't pee on the ancestral tree, motherfucker. It may not be your ancestors, but it's somebody's. It happened to Luke Perry and Jason Priestley in an episode of 90210. They pissed on some Native American burial ground, and they had to go to a sweat lodge.
See?
Don't do it. Nothing good has ever came from pissing on somebody's ancestry.
There you go. I don't think there's a better lesson we could teach.
I don't remember if we said or not. I know we talked about the lake scene and that how it ties back into Connie, but when they're wheelbarrowing her into it in the regular version is when you see she's in that same garb that the boy was in at the lake, where it's like the green crisscross with all the decorations. Like, she was tossed in the lake. There's a one point in the movie right before she completely disappears that you hear a scream off in the distance, and like Danny and Christian and Mark kind of looking that way, but they don't really recognize what it is. And that's when she's tossed in the lake.
Huh.
So she gets killed the way that they were going to toss that boy in, like the ceremonial part of it. And you don't see her again until they're wheelbarrowing her into the temple. And she's and if you look in the wheelbarrow with her, like, she is dressed in that, and she's all wet, like her hair's all wet.
Yeah. And I think it's really disappointing that they couldn't even cut down that scene enough to put a little bit into the movie, because when you do see her at the end scene going into the temple, it's kind of confusing. You're like, what the fuck's going on? That's a disappointing thing. But that's why I love the director's cut. Granted, it is pretty much almost 3 hours long, but I don't have a problem with that. Like, when we watched it last night, it didn't feel long to me. Like, there's some movies you feel the 3 hours in, and some you don't.
No, and it was super confusing for me. And we talk about this every time we talk A24. I always mention my attention span doesn't deal well. And I thought it was me. I thought, like, what the fuck? Where did she come from? Like, what happened to her? And I was going to go back and try to find a scene where it happened. Glad I didn't waste my time with that. But it was very awkward that it wasn't at least slightly in there better.
Yeah, I'm going to blame a studio exec somewhere. They said, you don't need that whole scene that explains how this one character died. You don't need that at all.
About her?
Let's just show Ruben sitting over in the corner jerking off, painting a picture.
Exactly. Thank God we had time for that.
Exactly.
All right. Do either of you have anything else left in your notes?
That was all I had.
Yep, that's all I had.
Cool. All right. Then I suppose that brings us to what should people watch if they enjoyed this film? And I'm going to let you two handle that, because I have absolutely no idea. Because even though I've been hosting this show forever, I totally forgot that we do this till now. So,
obvious choice is The Wicker Man.
Great choice.
So the question is which version? Like, I would say, yeah, I understand the original, but there's like 3 different cuts of the original, and I can never remember which one's supposed to be the best, but there is one where you get a lot more dialogue, and I think I like that one the best. But I would even say watch the Nicolas Cage one. As much as people want to give shit to that movie, like, it's honestly not that bad. Like, there's a lot of other movies, like this movie called Things. Now that's a bad fucking movie, but like The Wicker Man with Nicolas Cage isn't that bad. I mean, it's bad, don't get me wrong, but it's Nicolas Cage. If you go in with the right mindset, like, it's not bad. But yeah, obviously, like Allison said, the Wicker Man's obvious. I
would also say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Ladies first.
Sorry, I was going to say, for a similar feeling that the movie gets, The Lodge.
Oh God.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it gives you that same like existential dread throughout the entire thing.
When we watched The Lodge, I said, in the Babadook, it made me want to smack a kid. The Lodge, I said, The Lodge made me want to shoot a kid in the face, because the kids in that movie are horrible. And I like that is a movie that's probably the only time I will ever watch it. Like, I don't want to watch that. I could imagine watching that when you're in a really bad headspace, and I would like go upstairs to go to the bathroom, and then Allison would find me like hanging from the rafters when she comes to bed later, because I just couldn't take it anymore, because that movie's so fucking depressing. And they get, again, it's all about gaslighting. They gaslight her into thinking that she's fucking crazy. So yeah, that movie is, if you haven't seen it, it's an insane movie. Like, but you have to make sure that you're in the right mindset to watch it, or you won't handle it well. And
then also The Ritual.
Oh, yeah. The Ritual is really good. And also read the book that The Ritual is based on. It's a little bit different. I'm not going to say the differences, but the movie's really good. But also the book that it's based on is good as well. I would suggest Ty West just had a movie come out called X, and it's just the feel of it is it's very similar. Okay, there's this book called The Lost Village, and they say it's a mix between MIDSOMMAR and the Blair Witch Project. And it's a pretty good book. I think I got the recommendation from Rebecca McKendry, that famous person that happens to be one of your friends, James.
I've heard of her.
You've heard of her. She's right now filming a movie. So
the restraining order says I can't call her my friend anymore. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I would suggest that book as well. Like read the book. It's good. Read a book. You don't have to watch everything all the time.
I do have a movie to throw out, actually, and you reminded me by mentioning Rebecca. So Suspiria. I think Suspiria would do great with this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was about to say which one, because we haven't seen the original in like a long time, or I haven't seen it in a long time. I'm not sure if Allison has seen it, but we saw the remake, and I can totally get behind that. There's a lot of similarities. I do have 2 more suggestions. I would say watch Fresh. If you have not seen Fresh, get on it. That's probably going to be the best movie that I've seen this year, possibly this decade, which is a lie, but it may actually be the best movie I've seen this year. And also The Last Matinee. I'm going to keep pushing The Last Matinee until everybody on this world sees it. You don't even have to speak Spanish or read the subtitles to know what's going on in this movie. Like, you can just get it from the acting of the people, of the context, and how it is shot. It is so beautiful. And also that Last Night in Soho, is that what it's called? Or One Last Night in Soho? Something like that came out recently. It has the chick from The Witch in it. That movie is shot very beautiful as well. So I would get behind those movies.
Awesome.
Also, there's this movie coming out in 2024 called Fat Camp. That everybody should be on the watch for. And Murder Dome.
So let's bring it back to you guys. Where can people find you on social media and all that good stuff?
On Facebook, it's the Esoteric Order of Geekdom. On Instagram, I believe it's EOGLV for Las Vegas. And you can follow us there. We also have a Horror Fiends group within the Facebook Esoteric Order of Geekdom. So if you want just the horror section, you can be added to that group.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and we're hoping very soon we're about to start up our fantasy horror book club again, and we're hoping to find a new location for horror trivia so we can start getting some stuff rolling again.
Oh, that's great. Awesome. I guess that wraps it up for this week. As always, I am James Sabata.
And I'm Don Guillory.
And we'll see you next week here at thenecronomist.com.